Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, please consider subscribing. I do tons of different content such as witchy hauls, thrift hauls, crystal hauls. I also do a bunch of candle review videos and talk about things that are on my mind and a bunch of other random stuff. And because it is October, I have a bunch of Halloween content coming out, and today's video is a Halloween craft. So if any of that stuff sounds interesting to you at all, please consider subscribing down below. If you are a subscriber and you are returning, welcome back. So as I said, today we are doing a Halloween craft. This is why I have my desk cleaned off and ready to go. Today I'm going to do several different crafts. Depending on how long it goes, I might break it up into a couple different videos. But the first craft that we are going to be working on is a Halloween wreath. Now, if you watched my Halloween haul, I did show you some of the items that we will be needing, and I will show you that as we're getting it set up. And if you want to pause and come back to this video so that you can follow along, you are more than welcome to. Most of this stuff is from Dollar Tree, so it is very affordable. Alright, I have all of my supplies set up, and I will go through them one by one with you guys, but I also want to tell you things that I didn't purchase today, but you can also get at Dollar Tree if you need to work on this project. And they are wire cutters. They do have some in the home improvement and tool section, and also a set of small screwdrivers for the battery packs. You're going to need glue sticks, and then I have a glue gun that's heating right next to me that I also bought the glue gun at Dollar Tree, so you can get those too, and they work just fine. I've never had a problem with Dollar Tree glue guns. They've worked perfectly. Let me get a couple of glue sticks ready. Alright, so let me go over the things I have that I'm using. They're all from Dollar Tree. There are these LED battery packs. I have orange and purple, but this is the packaging they come in. They sell them all year round in different colors, but I have an orange one and then I have a purple one with batteries in it already that looks like that when they're lit up. So I'm going to use probably both of these. Then I have this pack of orange pumpkins that has like a bit of a fabric over the top of it. I of course have a foam wreath form. I have these little foam flowers that I bought as well that I plan on using. A couple spools of black velvet ribbon and purple velvet ribbon. Then I have a thing of their spooky garland, and I got the one that's just plain black and silver. And then I also have some twine to make a thing to hang it with. And then I also bought this 2-pack of signs. I'm not sure which one I'm going to use in particular, but we are going to use one of these signs. So those are the items that I have for the wreath. The ribbon I just have to make a bow. This is what we're actually wrapping the wreath around, so you don't necessarily need 2 spools of it, but I got one of the black, one of the purple, because I wasn't sure which sign I was going to use, and depending on which sign I used was going to depend on what color ribbon. So I guess we should decide that first. So the 2 signs that we have are the Witch's Inn and Welcome to Our Haunted Home. I'm going to use the Welcome to Our Haunted Home. I think I kind of like that one slightly better just because of the way the layout is. So let's prep that by taking the wire off, because we're not going to use this wire because we are going to attach it to the foam. We're not going to be hanging this. If you want, instead of using twine, if you don't have a little random piece of twine, you can hold on to this wire to use to make something to hang it with. So I am just going to wrap that up and set that off to the side. So we do have this, and I would say don't worry about the holes. We are going to use some of the flowers and everything to kind of hide that, but it is important that we use these bigger signs even though it is a small wreath, because we are going to need something to glue the battery pack to that's going to hide it a little bit. First things first though, before we start doing the embellishments, obviously we need to cover the wreath. Depending on whether you want to use wire or twine, you would want to attach that to the foam first, because it's going to be hard to get around the garland to do the rest of it. So I suggest putting the twine or the wire on first. What we're going to do is we're going to find the spot we want to attach it, and thankfully, since I've had the glue gun heating up, I'm just going to put a little bit of glue right here. Now it is going to melt the foam a bit, so you want to try to be quick with it. And I'm not going to touch this with my fingers because I don't want to get burned, so I'm just going to use this screwdriver to kind of tap it in place a little bit. And then I'm going to go right beside that, put a little bit more glue, lay down our twine, push it down. Now if you have a staple gun, you could also easily staple that into the foam, which will also make it secure, but I am just going to put one last blob on top to kind of secure the ends to the foam. We're going to let that sit for a second. So we have this beautiful garland that we're going to wrap the foam with. So the part that you put the glue, if it's still hot, you can actually take that end, and it is, so I'm just going to stick that right on top top of there. So when we're wrapping around this, you are going to try to want to not wrap this under it. You're going to want to try to leave that out. So you just have to weave in and out of it. But the easiest way it's going to be to do this is to keep this garland kind of balled up so you can go through the center of it a lot easier instead of, you know, bit by bit. And you shouldn't have to put a bunch of glue down to secure this garland. Just the one end should be enough for now. And then as you go, if you feel like you need to, you can add more glue. So we're going to just keep repeating this process, and it doesn't matter if you can see a little bit of the green foam in between, because once you really like fluff it out, you'll be able to disguise some of that. But we're just going to keep going. Again, we're going to go all the way around. Now if you do want this to be super fluffy, you can always use more than one garland, but I think one is more than enough. And see what I mean about it being balled up? It's just easier to plop through the middle there instead of having to do it one little strand at a time. We're getting there. Then when we come back around, we've actually made it all the way around pretty much perfectly. So I'm actually going to take a little bit more glue and I'm going to squirt some right there. Then I am going to take our end and smush that down. All right. So we have our completely covered wreath with this very cute black and silver tinsel. Now if you want, you can go around and you can slide it around a little bit if you see any bigger gaps that have a lot of green showing. I've only got a couple spots, so I'm going to just kind of adjust it a little bit. Then you can go like this to fluff it up if you need to. If you happen to have a lot of green spacing and you're worried about, you can actually purposely go from wherever you're sticking that sign and stretch it out and make it where more of it has the tinsel, and it'll leave a bigger bald spot down here, but that won't matter when we put the sign in. So what we're going to do, find the top. Alright, so our center is about here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to push a little bit of this up a bit so that we do have that little bit exposed, because it'll just make it easier when you're adhering the sign if you've got the foam to attach it to. So I've just got a little bit right here, and you can't see too much of it from the back either, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. Now since the sign we're using is purple and silver, you know what, now that I'm looking at those, I'm thinking the orange one might actually be better, because the black's going to blend into this and the purple's going to blend into this. We're actually going to use the orange one, so then I can use the purple ribbon, so it's a little less of a blending issue. I want the colors to pop. And again, they have lots of different color variations of this tinsel, and there are a couple other different sets of these signs besides the one that I got, so you don't have to get the exact same ones. Whatever designs and colors you like the most, I would suggest going with that. It's your creative freedom to do whatever it is that you like. I just like black a lot, so that's why I wanted the silver and black. Now that we have our sign ready to go, we're going to actually make our bow first so we can get it placed together. We're just going to use one spool of the purple velvet ribbon. I've left the ends folded so that it is easier to work with and it does not poke you. And we are just going to tie a bow. I would just say that make sure when you are tying this bow, you make sure the velvet part stays out. Then once you tie it, you are going to have to do some reshaping, because this sprinkles up pretty easily when you work with it. So I do accidentally have one tail that's longer than the other, but we can trim that down and make it a little bit more even. We do want it to stick out from behind the sign, but not a ton, just enough so that you can tell it is there. So I am going to trim that so it matches. We're going to get ready to glue our stuff on here. So like I said, you want to have a little bit of the green space showing just so it adheres easily. If you watched my fall video, you can either use these little clips if you want, or you can remove them and just glue straight to the fabric. Because the fabric has a lot of texture, the glue will hold on to these quite good. Now if you want, instead of gluing these at all, you can just clip them onto these like so. And you don't have to use glue at all. But I tend to know that when you do that, it makes them a lot looser. So I personally will prefer to glue them down. So I'm just going to take the little metal off of here, which be careful when you do because there's like a little stabby part there. You definitely don't want to poke yourself. So now our lights, we want to utilize it with the sign because the sign is going to help make a form for us to use for the backing. You do want to do this part before you put the little decorations on though. And that is because it's going to be harder to get around all that stuff. So when you do go to glue this down, be careful you don't glue the side down that you've got to take the batteries out. Make sure you glue the other side down that the batteries don't go in. Now I'm actually going to use the wire from the signs to kind of hold the lights in place, because even though you're going to be probably gluing them onto the wreath, this just gives it a little extra security. Since I know where I want to put it, I'm going to actually put the battery pack back behind here, and the little part of the battery pack and the wire, there's like a little 1-inch section that has like a tube there. That's going to be your best spot to glue it down if you are going to use glue at all to put the lights down, just because it's going to be easier to have that wider spot than a thin little wire. And I'm just going to glue it down right onto the foam. Be careful not to burn yourself, so I'm just pushing it down onto the foam right there. So the battery pack is dangling just a little bit, but that's what you want. You want it to dangle a little bit so that it's loose for when you go to glue it back to the sign. And then we're going to take our wire, and every once in a while I'm going to try to bend and twist it just how we want. And I'm going to use that wire, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to go around the back, and I'm going to twist, and then we're going to pull it tight. And then any extra that you have, you're going to want to cut with your wire cutter so that you don't poke yourself. Make sure you're cutting the wire you're using from signs and not the actual light wire. I want to do that. Then we are going to go around the top a little bit more, and now at the top we're going to actually twist it around once. So I'm going to take this light wire, because you do have a little extra slack, and I'm going to twist it around, and so that it actually stays in place, we're going to find the wire that we twisted it around and slide the end right under it, so it's using itself to hold it in place, kind of like you're tying a little bit of a knot. And then I'm going to follow it down around again utilizing that wire. Gonna twist it, and we're gonna trim it. All right, and then we've got this last little bit where it's gonna come back to where we started, and this end I am gonna glue down, but again, be very careful because this is thin wire, so it is easy to burn yourself. Put a tiny little dab, and then we're gonna let it sit for a second. So we've got our lights on there now, and just to give you guys a little better look of where they're placed, let me switch them on. Already looking very cool. Now we are going to add our bow and our sign. So on that little empty space, we're actually going to put the bow right where we put that little tube from when we first connected the lights, that little 1-inch section. We're going to glow the back of the bow to where your knot end is. Put a generous amount of glue. You want it to stick really good. And then we're going to glue it to that little 1-inch section from the lights. Just hold it for a couple seconds while the glue hardens. And if you need to secure it more with a little bit more glue, you definitely can. Mine feels like it's on there pretty good. Whatever sign you've chosen, we're going to place it where it's kind of on top of the bow, but where the bow comes out from behind it. Once you press it against there to get a good feel of where it's going to sit, it should flatten that bow out for you quite a bit. We're going to put a nice big glob of glue on that knot part, and then a couple off to the side, because it's also going to adhere on the sides of the bow. So I've got a lot of glue on there. Then we're going to take our sign and try to very evenly press it to the bow. So far, we've got our bow looking great. Fluff it up just a little bit. So that's what we've got so far. It is nice and secured. And now we're going to place the battery pack. So you want to actually flip it over, and we're going to utilize this part of that sign that is sticking out right here at the bottom. So we're going to actually glue the battery pack to this part. And not only is that going to secure it to it, but we're also going to put a little bit on this side of the green foam so that it'll hold it like this in place, so it's not flopping around everywhere. So you're going to want to put glue on this edge, and then the flat edge, make sure it's not the edge with the screw, and then we're going to adhere it like this to the back of the sign. And the sign is going to hide it pretty good, and it's also going to give you access so that if you ever need to change the batteries. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to put some glue on the flat part, and then a little on the top edge that's going to touch the green foam. Then we're going to take that, we are going to just plop it right on the back of here. So it's going to be glued to the foam and then also the wood sign. And we're going to kind of press it down so that it doesn't have any chance to wiggle. Make sure that feels good and secured. Alright, feels good to me. We can fluff this back up a little bit so it covers that green foam on the back. So then from the front, you can only see the corners of the sign. And now if you want, you can kind of hide that with a bow, or you can put some of the embellishments if it really bugs you. I can barely see the edges of that battery pack, so it doesn't bother me at all. What this also is going to do for you is it's going to give the bottom of this wreath enough weight so that if you're somewhere where there's a lot of wind and stuff like that, this wreath isn't going to get blown around everywhere. So now that we've got this main part of this done, the fun part is going to be decorating, and that's going to be adding your pumpkins and your flowers and figuring out where you want them to go. If you wanted to add another pack of batteries, you can, and you would glue that other pack at the back on top, but I think I'm going to just stick with the purple. So now figure out where I want to put these, and they can literally go anywhere you want. So I'm going to put one up here at the top. Again, I like holding it there for a few seconds just so I know it's really on there good. Now if you wanted to be mindful of the lights and make sure you're not gluing it on top of and where one of the lights actually is, that's fine. I would say not to worry too much about that. Alright, and we're going to place our other pumpkin ones. I kind of think I might like that with just one pumpkin, or maybe should I do like 3 little clustered ones? This is the fun of wreath making. You get to take your time and deciding how you want things to look. I think I'm going to cluster them like that. I kind of like that, how that looks. Now again, you guys can do this however you like. I like to see people's individual creativity come out. I think that's the funnest thing of building a community with a bunch of creative people, as everybody's going to have a different take on things. Alright, we'll do our last one. Okay, so I've kind of just placed these how I want them to look. Now you guys can move them again however you like, but I'm just kind of playing with them to see how I think they would look. I was originally not going to use any of the purple, but I kind of like where it's a little off balance like that. So I'm going to do a purple and an orange here and an orange and a white here. Again, you can move them around however you like. I just think that looks really good. So this one is damaged, but I'm going to have the purple overlapping it just a little bit so it's not going to matter. So I'm just going to put a little dot of glue, and here, this one right here. Then the same thing with the purple one. And then on this side, a little bit on the orange one, and then a little on the white one. And our wreath is complete. I am gonna go put this on my front door, but I'm actually really happy with how this turned out. Let's turn on these lights real quick so we can get the full effect. I don't know if you guys can see that on camera because it is daylight. I wanted to show you guys what this looks like at night, lit up. Here's with the flash. I'm gonna turn the flash off though. It came out pretty great. And I like how some of it is just illuminating from behind. But I think this came out super cute. And this looks great on my porch. I'm really happy with how it turned out. Really cheap and easy wreath to make. They're pretty expensive when you buy them in stores, so this is a good alternative if you feel like getting a bit crafty. I hope you guys enjoyed this Halloween craft that we did. Again, if you guys do follow along with this project at all, please tag me in your photos on Instagram, and that's at Andromeda Nightshade. Again, all that information is down below in the description bar if you guys want to follow me on Instagram, and tag me in the ones that you guys have completed. I would love to see how your guys' turned out if you did happen to follow along. But I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!